Guys, if you watch the first few minutes and you think this is just going to be a Melvin Gates clown show, it is not. Some of the biggest concepts and ideas from some of the smartest subscribers and people who have emailed me. The best attitude award in getting through all this bullshit mentally definitely goes to Indra. She has sent me other things other than this, but this is her best work. If we could all have this attitude while getting through this bullshit.
Good morning, my neighbors! Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
From Coming to America, of course. And again, guys, this is not just for fun. People have emailed some of the most incredible ideas. Some of the smartest people in the world have emailed me in terms of figuring out what this reality is. And I'm sure Bone was just having fun with me in sending this, so I'll have fun with him. Yes, Bone, sometimes when you put an inbox and an outbox in front of a monitor, it makes a letter. But this is a great example of if you kind of, quote, do what I do, you walk on eggshells. Again, you make a hand gesture and somebody will interpret that as some alchemical symbol to Satan or something. You can't do anything.
Fuck you too!
All right, let's get serious for a minute. It was going back and forth with Rick and a few people on a concept similar to this. Rick introduced was it the my cousin Vinny theory? Well, I'll tie that in. But guys, in the past, I've talked about, many of us have talked about, is there two separate realities? How can we see things so clearly? And my friend Tony, for example, he just doesn't see any of it. I mean, it's just so 19 guys with box cutters. I mean, the absurdity of it all, it is so crystal clear to us, they just can't see it. So we actually have to toy with these monster theories like, is it two separate realities? Do I carry my own reality inside a bubble? And we have shared elements, of course, but I'm starting to move away from that a bit. I'll never leave that behind totally, but it might be more like, think of just a radio. We both have radios, but you and I are tuned into 94.0, and our neighbors and the reality is getting everybody to tune into 102, okay, 0.0. It's still the same radio. But it's just how you interpret the signals. So it relates back to the my cousin Vinny effect, is both the prosecution and the defense completely believed the arguments they were building. Okay, there was supposedly a ton of evidence against the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio, and everybody saw the green car. They weren't just trying to screw those two kids. They were 100% sure that they did it. Well, of course, Vinny was 100% sure his nephew or whatever didn't do it. And until both realities went parallel to each other, until there was one bit of information, positraction. Miss Vito, are you saying you're an automotive expert? Positraction. Yeah, until that was introduced, there were parallel realities. But it was the same evidence. See, we're tuned into a different frequency. It's the same reality. It's not denial. I'm just very selective about the reality I accept. This image here. One of the best examples I kind of came up with on the fly corresponding with Rick was War of the Worlds presentation. You know, that we've heard all the stories. Probably a lot of it is urban legend blown out of proportion. What Orson Welles was reading it, but people thought it was a real news story, and they thought there were really aliens attacking, and whatever. Even if 5 people thought that, they make it seem like 50,000 people thought real aliens were attacking. But see, it's the same information. A guy listening in Chicago knew it was Orson Welles and was loving the presentation, knew it was all fake and fiction, and somebody in Boca Raton, Florida, was listening to this exact same show, but was preparing for an alien invasion. Is that, see, it's two different realities based on the exact same thing. We'll just call it the my cousin Vinny effect. But is there ever that one bit of positraction that can be introduced so the other side actually comes around? I think it's more frequency. If the reality can put people at a certain frequency, they're going to get the same radio signals. We're both seeing Joe Biden at the same podium, Tony and me, but we look through it and this is just a clown actor. It's all artificial. And, but somebody else takes the exact same War of the Worlds presentation and believes there's really going to be a presidential election. Beavis, what's the difference watching it? Beavis and Butthead watching MTV, Play-Doh's Allegory of the Cave, watching a projection, the screen, a false reality. 2000 BC, MTV in 1995. What's the difference? It's all the same shit, just do a little bit different technology. Wait, it's all shadows on a cave. Well, yeah. If you're a reality that wants to present a bunch of bullshit and get human beings to go in the wrong direction, it's what you do. It's Geico. It's what you do. And remember, guys, in the famous Play-Doh's Allegory of the Cave, once the one guy broke out and he's like, it's all shadows. This is all bullshit. He tried to convince, it's the same story plays out over and over. He tried to convince the others watching the cave wall shadows, and they rejected him. They were like violently wanted to just stick to the cave shadows. So, yeah, sure, Plato got it exactly right. See, this, I don't buy this. I don't buy that some guy named Plato wrote this up and it was so brilliant. It was carried through time on its own. And who got the manuscripts? Who protected the papyrus? No, the controlling structure itself, or the reality itself, carries these truth lessons through. And if a nursery rhyme starts to fade away, the reality itself will bring it back, because it has to have the truth up front for people that care to pay attention. When people forget about that bullshit, horrible song, row, row, row your boat, then they'll put it in Star Trek. And they'll have the three biggest characters in Star Trek history sitting around a campfire, jerking themselves off, singing, "Life is but a dream." Then the reality sees to it that bullshit is reintroduced, so it's never forgotten. Same with Play-Doh's Allegory of the Cave. It ain't good enough to survive on its own without their help. Did anybody think the Quantum of Conscious telethon would not have the highest level of entertainment?
The world will be the same. You're never gonna change it. That's as sure as the stars that shine above.
Remember the All in the Family Archie Bunker, where for some reason Sammy Davis is in Archie Bunker's house and he don't mention his glass eye or something. He says, "Do you want cream and sugar in your eye?" or something. I don't know. What was he even doing in Archie Bunker's house? It doesn't matter. It's probably a pretty funny episode if I remember correctly. But get this, guys. Get this. The world. Get this. I just go to get a bullshit clip just for, to keep the telethon atmosphere going. Just pull the clip at random. Sammy Davis. Oh, this will work. This is a clown show. Oh, he sings, he presents As Above, So Below, truth carried through time, symbolism, and knowledge in the segment. I mean, just happened to pull it. The world, you ain't never going to change it. It is as fixed, is never going to change as the stars above, as above, so below. Really? That's how this shit works, guys. Let's cover email from Danny. I didn't know about this. The movie Vanilla Sky is incredibly creepy. I was so disturbing. Cameron Diaz, I just didn't want to watch it ever again. I don't care what truth is in it. But I didn't realize this. The ending scene, Tom Cruise goes running off the side of a building directly toward the twins. Twin Towers. What a coincidence. Here's the close-up. Now, for a moment in the movie, he does stop on the edge to contemplate one last memory with Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, and then he jumps. But he basically runs off directly towards the twins and jumps. Anybody surprised? No. Of course, I think this is well before the big date. Again, who knows? Are these things retrocausalities, predictive programming? It's probably a combination of factors, guys. At this point, with these types of things, I don't believe that, again, through coordination or normal means or things, the limitations of what human beings can pull off, I just don't believe all the predictive nature of the massive events could be put in there ahead of time. And now it's happening with the CV event, for example, with the Captain America at the Times Square, where you have the ball, the spike ball, the mask of Phantom of the Opera, and the beer all in the exact same shot. It's a combination. Retrocausality is real as far as I'm concerned, but it's also people calling it in. It's both. It's not one or the other. It's both. And there's probably, of course, a third and a fourth option we're not even considering because we're just simply fish in a fish tank here, trying to figure out what is going on with very limited means, with misinterpreted data by the lying senses. To the triggered, you can start your stopwatch now. It'll be 90-second countdown on the Mandela effect. David had sent me some old Star Wars images and some different things. This was just one of what he sent me. Of course, in the movies, 3PO has a silver leg, and there is tons and tons of residuals that he's always presented in all gold. Mandela effect people remember him all gold, the legs being all gold. I don't know who sent me this, but somebody took a picture of one of the exhibits, and the exhibit has, this was taken several years ago, the exhibit has the legs in all gold. The next picture coming up is another exhibit at Disney, the legs all gold. See, this is like 100% proof of the Mandela effect. Does anybody think, I don't know what these exhibits would show today, but these were taken in the past. Does anybody think the Disney exhibit got the character wrong? Does anybody think that, well, somebody, Kathleen Kennedy came in and said, 3PO in all the movies has a silver bottom below the knee on the right leg is silver. You got it wrong. Do we really have to redo it? Oh, nobody will notice. Yeah, I agree. Nobody will probably notice. You guys worked hard. It's you guys are on union time anyway. We don't want to pay the extra hours. F it. Does anybody think Disney got it wrong? Really?
Somebody loves you.
Well, that's bad. How is that guy a famous singer? Sammy Baker Davis Jr., Grandpa. How is he even taken seriously? I don't get it. Was it like a joke? I know it wasn't a joke because he was running with this Rat Pack, right? Frank Sinatra is a big name. Dean Martin. He was running with those clowns. So I guess he was taken serious. I was thinking, is this some sort of a joke that people were they laughing at him instead of with him? It was like some sort of Vern Troyer joke. Vern Troyer was mini-me. No, he was, I don't know. Back in the day, that guy was an entertainer. I don't understand it either, but whatever. He didn't have his best day singing for Jerry Lewis that day vocally. He was out late drinking with Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant put down 114 beers in one sitting. It's no bullcrap, confirmed by many other professional wrestlers. 114 beers in one sitting. He was close to 600 pounds. Anyway, the point is this segment, I was thinking, well, what was this telethon for? I forget. And this Jerry Lewis telethon, guys, was a big deal. Not that everybody in your family couldn't wait to watch it. You know, your grandparents that age watched it, but it was, you knew it was, you know, you'd go across it and you're like, yeah, Grandma, the Jerry Lewis telethon's on all day on Channel 6. And you knew what it was. You had seen it come up every year in the 70s. If you're under age 40, you have no idea what the F this is, but it was a pretty big deal. Again, targeting age group, 55, 60 and over. It would take up like the whole day. But anyway, I thought, well, what were they even trying to raise money for? And I thought at first it was March of Dimes, but then I just looked into it this morning, muscular dystrophy. And I thought it's going to be just like everything else, right? All of these telethons, decade after decade. And what was cured? Absolutely nothing was cured. The whole reality can't find a cure for anything, of course. No, they have a cure probably for everything, in my opinion, or most things. They knew 100 years ago a shark, certain breeds of fish never get cancer, never, but they couldn't study that over 100 years and find out why. I think they have a cure for almost everything. And of course, there's no money in that. There's no money when people die or or cured. It's just endless treatment over and over. So I looked into muscular dystrophy, and I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but there's nothing even close to a cure. They have some drugs that will hold the muscles together and, maybe for a few, half a year, preserves lung function and things like that. But all of these telethons, all of this raising money, you think, where did it go? What was it? How much of it was just completely pissed away? There's never any cure for anything. That by itself should be enough to wake up our neighbors. There seemed to be from 1900 to 1940, there seems to be actually cures for certain things, or somehow smallpox was eradicated in the world, and just penicillin was introduced, and that wiped out hundreds of things that could kill people. But from say 1960 through the modern era, there's been no cures for absolutely anything, and people just accept that as being normal. It's just not possible. So all the technologies increased across the board. Had a cell phone, as big as 5 cardboard boxes. Now there's like a supercomputer in your hand. All that can increase technology-wise 10,000-fold. But medical science, cures, nah, nobody expects that. It's just people doing the best they can, Matt, and you're a conspiracy theorist. You conspiracy theorist son of a bitch! Getting serious again, this was a very interesting email from Eileen. I'm not going to read all this, just certain parts. Let's just start with the beginning few segments and then get to the middle, which is what I want to focus on. She says, a life by design in this 3D holographic artificial construct where nothing is real, blah, blah, blah. How do we exit? Being here? We went out by intention on an understanding of who and what we are. Okay. Next section, this is where I need to be. How do we know there's nothing more to learn from this experience? Exit upon death, I believe she's saying, when there's a realization that we have nothing more to learn from this experience. But the key here is, she says, therefore, we inserted into our program script, basically saying we went into this, smart people that I'm in touch with absolutely concur. You agreed to be here. You signed up for this. But she says, therefore, we inserted into our program/script certain triggers that would create nonsensical events that would in turn cause the routine analysis to pick up these events and set in motion updates, new downloads, etc. These updates, downloads act like patches to cover the nonsensical event, making it even more nonsensical the more we recall the original event memory. And then more patches are added until it becomes utterly ridiculous to us, a wakey call. There's something that resonates with me here. So we've always talked about the mistakes on purpose. Okay, no question, an inflated tire at the bottom is not bad planning or anything like that. And didn't they realize they'd be caught? No, it's mistakes on purpose. The Robbie Bobby moment is a mistake on purpose. But we thought, the minions, these assholes, this whoever's up on Mount Olympus and George Bush is playing underneath their table with his Matchbox cars. Maybe it's not they. Maybe we're more in charge of our experience, agreeing and to sign up to come into this lifetime. Maybe we agreed to what triggers or what things would become ridiculous to trigger our program to get us to really understand who we really are, that just by intention we can get out of here. So the ridiculous mistakes on purpose, she's kind of alluding to, or the way I read it is, we put it there potentially before we even came in here. It is possible. Because again, there's not many other explanations as to why there's an absurdity put into every serious event, including the 15 or 20 absurdities occurring right now with this major event. Why we see it, and it's utterly ridiculous to us, and the people around us can't. Well, they might not be old souls. Those people are not ready to get out. And this is something very similar from Dale sent to me a while back now, but it's similar in concept. Matt, these old hints, clues, and references to current events aren't some evil plan hatched decades ago. Maybe we were the ones in the past who planted clues and keys for ourselves to find in the future. so we can escape. Maybe the best place to hide them, where they could never be destroyed, was in the superconscious, the Akashic record. And because the information is there, it just keeps seeping out in creative works, etc. He's explaining predictive programming, I believe. Maybe it's through you this is to be discovered, and that's why you named your channel Quantum of Conscious. But actually, it's conscience, conscience, like a moral compass, that form of conscience. You may have taken on a bigger responsibility than you initially thought. So that, there's so many smart people that have emailed me, guys. Even if I brought nothing to the table at this point, other than just disseminating all the brilliant things people bring to me, there would be a reason for this channel, assuming I bring nothing to the table, because it's like a portal for very, very smart people to communicate really, really big ideas, and we're going to try to do more of this going forward. That being said, I'm having trouble keeping up with emails, guys. A lot of trouble keeping up. Let's take a 1-minute break. These are the gray ladies that Pam and I rescued from the nursing home. Of course, when CV came, all the cats have to leave, and we took these two. And one here, this is just amazing what this one does. Watch this. The cat is trained in some way to say, I love you. It says, I love you. I'm not joking. And when it wants affection, not just all the time. Name's Puss. Puss in Boots. There's two of them. This one's Puss. She'll try to get out. Puss. Back, Puss, back. You love me? Puss, do you love me? You love me? Come on. Puss. Oh, you love me? Come here. Come here. Come here, Puss. Puss, come here. Come here. You love me? Come here. You love you? Oh, you love me too. I love you too. Puss, you love me? Puss. Yeah, I love you too. Puss, I love you. I love you too. Watching these two cats. Watch this, guys. They're not gay. Trust me. They just love each other. They're not gay. What are you guys up to? Oh. Okay, let's do a few minutes on this stinker of a movie, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. And if that all gets boring, this segment, you won't believe the end of this segment. The reason I'm making this segment. I'm almost don't even know how to talk about it. I'll just do it on the fly, what I'm going to show you. But please don't skip ahead. Most people don't know this movie. I never heard of it. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. I think TJ recommended it to me. Thanks, TJ. I can't get those 2 hours back. Oh, I'm not getting on TJ. There's huge truth in this movie. Huge truth. Right? Heath Ledger's last movie died like halfway through or before halfway through. Heath Ledger died. And you don't miss them. They use other actors. There's a lot of dream sequence. Trust me, I know that doesn't make any sense. How could the star of the movie die and it's not awkward, Matt? You don't miss him. You don't miss him at all, and it's actually better. I think it's better the way they did it. It's better that he died? I'm sorry, I don't mean to stomp on his legacy, but yeah, it is. It's incredible. You don't miss him at all. Well, Matt, this sounds pretty good. No, this movie stinks. Okay, it stinks. It's a movie that the system had to put out because it contains some form of truth. Look at the bottom. It says unmissable. Really, it's horrible. Look at the top left. 4 stars. Top right. 4 stars. No, nobody would give this 4 stars. It's horrible. Okay, it's put out because it has to be put out because of the truth in it. Well, Matt, what is the truth in it? I have no idea. I did not have the mindset, the active mindset needed while watching it. And it was so bad, I'm not going to go back and watch it again. And I think it would just reconfirm what we already know. If there was something new and profound, I would go back and rewatch it. It's just going to confirm what we already know. All right, let me show you a little bit of the Wikipedia. Then we'll hopefully finally get to the main reason I'm showing you all this. The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus is a 2009 fantasy film directed by Terry Gilliam, blah, 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 blah. It follows a traveling theater troupe whose leader, having made a bet with the devil, takes audience members through a magical mirror to explore their imaginations and present them with a choice between self-fulfilling enlightenment and gratifying ignorance. So they drive around this old van or whatever, old bus. It becomes a theater. They just kind of fold it out. It becomes a theater wherever they go in London. And there's supposed to be this mirror, but it's like this prop audience members go through, but it's magical. All their fantasies are fulfilled when they walk through, one at a time. They say one at a time. You can't do two at a time because they say imaginations can't mix. Now, this is news to me, where it says the mirror presents them with a choice between self-fulfilling enlightenment or gratifying ignorance. Well, I didn't know anybody could get enlightened through the mirror. I just saw gratification. A kid walks through and he's eating a candy bar, and he goes to like this chocolate place or this candy land where it's like Willy Wonka. I just thought the mirror was fulfilling fantasies. But the way they have it here in the Wikipedia, the mirror provides a choice. Well, this seems to be a metaphor for reality itself. But I didn't notice there was that choice when I watched the movie. Anyway, guys, again, there's a reason this movie had to be put out by the system. The ultimate truth in it, I don't know. I don't care to go back and watch it. But there's a small group of people watching that probably would tolerate this movie, no matter how bad it is, to try to get to the truth of it. And if you do that, email me your findings. But this isn't for everybody. You really have to have a high-level understanding of how this reality works. Like I give this to Livette, she could break it down or something. If you, it's not going to be for everybody to pull the ultimate truth out of this movie. It's going to be very, very deep, way past first and second level. All right, and and I'm not saying even I could do it. But I don't even care to go back, and I can't stomach watching it again. To me, it just was horrible. It was horrible. And but it's very artsy, and maybe 5% of you would like it, but most won't. Here's the reason I wanted to show this to you. This is the close of the movie and the credits, and it says a film from Heath Ledger at the end. What does this even mean? He died during it. He didn't produce it. He didn't make it. What's the wording all about? A film from Heath Ledger. Then it goes into the closing credits, and this is really what I wanted to show you. Heath Ledger, it's a really artsy-fartsy. And, in memory. Here we go, in memory. Because he died during the filming. Did you catch that? The in memory, the last time they're going to show Heath Ledger, or Heath Ledger, the last moment he will appear in film forever, he's doing one eye symbolism, right eye symbolism, taking off his white mask with the long phallus beak. Really? So just to back up a second, I don't even know what to say about this. This is amazing to me. But just to back up, again, closing credits, it says a film from Heath Ledger, the language of that. What does that even mean? Terry Gilliam produced it. He didn't produce it. He didn't star in it. A film from Heath Ledger. There's a reason for that language. To me, this almost cries out that he's not even dead, to me. Again, the last moment Heath Ledger's going to appear in film, died halfway through it. This is the image. This is the last image they show him. Absolute right eye symbolism, pulling off a mask. Really? What exactly is going on here, Matt? I don't know. But obviously, it's not all that it appears. Maybe he did a David Bowie. He just checked out. He didn't really die. This is absolutely bizarre. And will we get to the bottom of it? No, but it just again tells us how whatever this thing here is that we're dealing with, how creepy those that try to pervert this reality through its minions. What a creepy thing we are dealing with here. I mean, just from a common sense perspective, what if Heath Ledger's family saw this? They're like, "That's how you show my son." That sounded like James Earl Jones, like talking about Akeem. That's how you show my son. You would think in memory, you've seen when people die on set or whatever, it'll show like, say, a friendly picture of Heath Ledger with his arm around Christopher Plummer, like in a sweatshirt and jeans, on set, like laughing, just like a human picture. That's how the in memoriams are typically done. And it doesn't have to be like the lead actor, like you've seen it. When a cameraman dies or somebody on set, they'll do an in memoriam in the credits, and they'll just show the person like being a regular person standing around with the other cast and crew, in regular street clothes. To show this, I mean, you've got to be kidding me. He's still alive on the other continent that's not on the map with David Bowie. He's probably introducing David Bowie right now. And Prince and Michael Jackson, right? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Remember we say we never go far enough? In terms of understanding whatever the dark element here that animates the screen, that then influences the minions to run around and do its bidding, in terms of not going far enough, it's like 1,000 times creepier than we are even giving it credit for. And shit, their neighbors and friends can't even see it. This segment is information from Mark, who helped me do those cool graphics for the Old Fashioned Radio Show and Examining the Not Old podcast. He's pointed out to me the creepiest band of all time that I've never heard of, most people have never heard of, Boards of Canada. It's one of their album covers here, Reach for the Dead. Little write-up he has here, Boards of Canada, two brothers from Penthills, Scotland, rarely give interviews. Their music evokes nostalgia, using math, science, numerology, psychedelic geometry, backmasting, Satanism, blah, blah, blah. Here's the key. There's all sorts of backmasting, encoded 3/6s, all this stuff. But here's why I'm presenting this. He says, in December of 1996, exactly 23 years to the month, a compilation album they put out named Mask 100, only 100 copies being pressed. Mask 100 was put out by Scam Records that contains the song title Korona. It's like the beer, but with a K. Mask 100, Korona. Scam Records. Really? And the reality we just kind of thought about with the Heath Ledger thing that couldn't get any creepier. See, these examples are endless at this point. And, we're just conspiracy theorists. Kathleen had sent me this a while back. You want to talk about fluid reality? Yeah, 1940s. Mobile phones in cars, trucks, 1940s. Yeah, that jives with my reality. She said she also found an article that by 1964, there were 1.5 million mobile phones. 1964? Guys, in my reality, it was a brand new thing to me in my uncle's car in the late 70s, 79, 1980. Brand new.
How can it be done? Watch.
CL4 3592. This is Joe.
Hello, Joe.
But here's Morley Safier in a 60 Minutes article talking to the guy that made the first cell phone call. He was on the streets of New York in 1973, and here they're reliving it 30-some years later. This is more jives with what I remember. My uncle had, in his big shot job out in San Francisco, we visited him in the late 70s, maybe 79 or 80. He had one in the car, like this big bulky thing in the car. And he would always have kept up, with the new technology or whatever. So then 5 years to implement, 73. This makes sense. But then what's with the 1940s? They're showing you in the 40s the technology worked. That's what that whole film showed you. That the technology worked in the 40s. So then at 50, 60, just 30 years to implement. I mean, what? It's just weird all around, guys. Gary sent this to me a while back. It's definitely worth taking a quick look at. He says, I think the papers that government put forth, papers like the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, these papers would be better looked at as spell scrolls in many ways. These are used as the backbone of our consent to be ruled. The power that's where the power of the entire effed up system is derived. Patriotism is akin to parasitism and the primary driver of world division. No doubt about that. No wars occur without governments, and none occur without patriotism, which has been imbued, instilled, and indoctrinated since early years. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, no doubt about it. Patriotism is fueled and cooked up, and always has been, so they can use it when they need to use it. It's one of the main reasons for all these arbitrary divisional country lines, and like you think, where did these borders even come from?
Somebody loves you.
Here's an email that's extremely interesting from someone I'll just call Earth. Reality is currently controlled by a mental process similar to an AI that I call the egregore. It is part of the unconscious mind that we have given temporary permission to create reality while our greater mind sleeps. We wanted to experience life without having to create every aspect of it on the fly. So we needed an automated process that was part of ourselves to do that for us. Thus, the egregore was created. It was not alive, but does appear to have properties of life. It is a part of our mind. This is why it, the not-milk screen, can appear to read our minds at times and create seemingly impossible synchronicities. That might be one of the most interesting explanations of synchronicities that I've seen. Even people are starting to say that about their computer. Smart people have come to me and said, the computer's showing me an ad for something I'm just thinking about. I haven't even said it out loud for the Alexa device to hear. Anyway, back to the reading. Some of us have begun to wake up from the dream created by the egregore. This is likely due to the fact that the egregore has gone rogue. It is creating unpleasant and unlikely dreamscapes, which over time make less and less sense. The egregore AI breakdown is initiating the wake-up process of real beings within its dream. As we wake more and more, it responds with increasingly unpleasant world situations in order to keep us anchored in the dream. It is not very creative, thus it runs scripts over and over, but it is having an increasingly difficult time keeping its narrative realistic. Again, what pops out at me is the same themes just repeat over and over. The Ronald Reagan button I showed the other day said, make America great again. I mean, it's the same, it runs the same crap over and over. And this also what pops out of me is our notion long ago that this is a reality hijacked by the assholes, by the minions, by the dark creatures. Well, if this thing that potentially we set up has gone rogue, well, that's like a hijacking. Continue. Thus its problem. It wants us rooted in its dream, but it has to create distressing situations in order to distract us from the waking process. The more it does this, the more certain individuals will wake to the deception. This, to me, is the mistakes on purpose and the absurdities. In a way, it is going too far, and its tactics are having the opposite effect. We notice increasingly erratic and nonsensical behavior of its characters in its script. The egregore is not alive, but it is part of our minds. A long time ago, we must have created it and given it our permission to create various realities for us to experience, so that we didn't have to consciously do that ourselves. We didn't want to create a puppet show. There would be no sense of immersion, no sense of it being a true reality. If we did it, you'd know we did it. Why run a life script? Because the egregore isn't very creative and just recycles peoples and scenarios. It's like an algorithm demon or daemon for a consciousness that is currently mostly asleep. Computer simulation is a good metaphor for this world, but it's not quite right. It's more like a dreamer who is dreaming of being simulated. The dreamer wanted to lose itself in an infinite rabbit hole of dream reality, thus had to give up nearly complete control of reality creation in order to do so. The egregore is currently insane. Yeah, that makes sense. The egregore is currently insane and creating nightmares that have gone too far. Well, a lot of people would start to disagree here, but this is very interesting. Let's just continue. The dreamer didn't want to risk falling completely into solipsism, which was the point of losing itself in infinite dreams in the first place. This reminds me of Vanilla Sky, the movie Vanilla Sky. Being punished by a non-entity, however, is not going to persist, as the dreamer will wake from this to whatever degree is necessary to take back control. The dreams become more and more absurd in order to wake the dreamer. Things can't be too good, or the dreamer will not desire to wake up, ever. And that couldn't be allowed, so a failsafe was put in place. Reality will degenerate, so the dreamer will realize that this is not real, and would rather wake to solipsism if necessary, rather than persist in an absurd dream controlled by an insane egregore. This is very similar to the comment we looked at just a few minutes back about putting in the absurdities. And here are the quick screenshots if anybody wants to finish reading or zoom in to finish reading. That's all I'm going to cover of that email, which I found very interesting, and I'm very glad I saved it. This is one last segment from another email from, quote, Earth. Guys, before I start reading, the Kobayashi Maru is like a test that Kirk and other cadet captains are put through at Star Trek. It's a no-win situation. It's a simulation where you're a captain and the Klingons are surrounding you and everybody's going to die. And it's just to test what you'll do in a no-win situation. That's the famous Kobayashi Maru test or simulation from Star Trek. So he says, or she says, in many ways, life here feels like the Kobayashi Maru test in Star Trek, an unwinnable test of character. It is meant to see how they will react in a no-win situation, skipping to the bottom paragraph. So the takeaway of all this is, the world is overrun by NPCs acting in coordinated and insane manner worldwide. This is very revealing. It's upsetting but revealing. This place can no longer successfully pretend to be what it is clearly not. It is not real. It is a highly controlled and staged environment with a possibly huge number of NPCs. I believe real spirited people are the vast minority here. So again, what to do? How to respond knowing this? Detach. Can we change a programmed reality run by agents beyond our perception, one which has the ability to control the behavior of people worldwide? The worldwide and uniform CV response was very revealing. But now another event that has the NPCs of the world in protest, BLM. Fake, all fake to the core. Detachment is what it doesn't want. So detachment's a good place to start. Just a couple comments on that last bit that I read. If not NPC guys, then it's people that are on a frequency level where they're taking the download and doing everything the download says. It really doesn't matter, though, whether they're NPCs or they're people that just welcoming the frequency that this reality demands and taking the download. Either way, Earth is right. They have the entire world in a coordinated unison. And the other thing he implies, or she implies, you can't fight that. A world that has basically billions of people and basically every country on Earth in a coordinated unison cannot be fought or attacked. Their only possibility is where energy goes, attention goes, energy flows, withdrawal. Here's one of the biggest takeaways from 10 years of truth research. Biggest takeaways. All the complexity, all the confusion, all the breadcrumbs we chased, all the tributaries of the conspiracy stream, it all narrows down to about a half page. All the complexity means the real answer is that much simpler. How do you live your life in a fake world? It all comes down to that. How should I live? Just say it every day. Spray paint it above your bed. Well, maybe not, but write it on a little 3x5 card. How do I live my life in a fake world? Okay, we know it's fake. Where exactly we agree or disagree, does it really matter? Well, Matt, you don't put words in my mouth. I'm not Mandela affected. You're falling for that psyop. Well, fine, even if we disagree there. So we're not going to agree the world's fake? You think that Men in Black came by and for 5, 6, 7 years straight, every one of these fake bang bang events, they just pulled it off every single time with everybody being in on it and no crisis actor ever leaked anything and they just pulled it off and we saw the absurdity, but our friends, families, and neighbors just thought it was all real. And then the presentation of space, we saw all the absurdities, but nobody ever leaks anything. They just pulled off time after time, convincing our friends, family, and neighbors that it's all for real. The CV thing by itself proves the world is completely fake. Every country lined up and did the exact same thing with the exact same compliance, with no pushback, with no dissent. Matt, you don't know about Switzerland? Or was it Sweden? Sorry, what's the difference? Sweden? No. Sweden is a control in the AI supercomputer test. It wasn't a country that decided to do its own thing. I know nobody listening to this would believe that, but if somebody would actually suggest that to me, get your head out of your ass. Sweden didn't do anything on their own. They were told what to do, just like Earth suggests. So you can't have an entire world that all complies in the same manner when basically very few of us know anybody that's even severely ill from this thing. The whole world bows down in the exact same way, following the exact same measures, locking their people up in the exact same fashion, imposing fines and curfews, and no, you don't have one or two presidents or premiers or kings or queens or prime ministers or whoever's just saying, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do this. We might close the border, but we're not going to do this to our citizens. We're not going to wear masks. We're going to live our lives. We're going to be strong. Nobody pushing back. No stories of that. It's just impossible in a world that's real. So we're there. Okay, we're there. Get your 3x5 card, put it on your bed, look at it every morning. How do I live my life today in a world that's fake? The exact way it's fake or what's pulling the strings or how the screen works and things we'll never know. But just say it every day. How should I live my life today in a world that's fake? What's an example? Well, again, if somebody calls me conspiracy theorist or I can't get a friend to come around to my position or viewpoints, why should I get upset at that if I'm in a Sims video game or it doesn't matter whether we agree that it's an illusion, a simulation, a holodeck. We agree the world's fake. Whether a rock is real or it's not, or it's collapsing the wave function, or it's still fake. It's still a giant script that's running here. It's still people either taking the download or following the directives of the greater not ilk. How do you live your life knowing it's fake? And we're there. We know it's fake. So no, I don't get upset at a friend. In other words, not only get upset at a friend for not seeing certain things or thinking that 19 guys with box cutters can bring the whole world to its knees, but just not even trying to talk to them at all about it. Why bother? Just like Earth said, there's probably very few of us here that are of a certain stock or of connection to spirit or whatever you want to call it, or haven't been degraded or aren't taking the download. So why bother? How do you live your life if you literally were in a Sims video game? Knowing your immortal aspect of something that has always been and always will be. Are you going to get as worried if you didn't pay the water bill? Let's put all this stuff into practice. Start believing it. Start walking the walk. If the water bill's late, well, it doesn't mean never pay it so they come and shut you off. But say, F it. Who cares? Matt, that could affect our credit. Who gives a flying F? Sometimes you just have to say, what the F? What the F is a lot easier to say if you truly believe the world is fake. You know what? We are there. It is fake, no matter what exactly we agree on or don't.